Should men retain control of who accesses their deposits to sperm banks, or do they lose rights to it as they do post-intercourse? So with this thought, there is an easy thing here. When you go to sperm banks, there normally is some sort of legal actual aspect that goes with the sperm banks. So I'll get to that, but in general, I'm just talking about the actual action that happens. Once a male has ejaculated their sperm, their reproductive material, and it's out there, it's not part of their body anymore. Is there still some ownership of it? Like if I spit on you and the saliva hits you, that is still my saliva that hit you. Like, but in if I just have the saliva on the ground and you slip on it and it wasn't somewhere like in the main thoroughfare, is it my fault that you slipped on the saliva? You know, this kind of thing. Like when you give blood, the blood is taken out of your body, but there is again normally an agreement. But then that blood can be given to other people. It goes to the hospital and it can be given to other people. In general, I don't think people go and they say like, "Oh, this blood can only be given to white people." There might be some things about certain. I think it's blood types, and rather than like just blood races and things like this. And I also had a separate video about this. I was thinking about a separate thing. If there's actually like a genetic aspect where like your blood is making a certain kind of melanin, it's part of your genes, and you put the bone marrow on someone, can you like start making white blood, if there is such a thing? Not white blood cells. I'm talking about like actual genetically, does your blood change? There's another. I think there was another one I was thinking about with this. I'm going to get back to the point, but there's another one I was thinking about with these. I might be a separate shorty. I don't know if I actually put this thought out. Just talking about if you actually switch in and you get bone marrow from somebody else, are you making? Is your genes? Is there a genetic aspect in the blood where you're actually making like it's from a male? Does it make female? Can you transition in that kind of way? But no, let's just get back to this thing. So we're just talking about actual release. Because when it comes to the legality of this, if you go out and you impregnate a woman in the West in general, most places in the West, this is if you're listening to this, chances are you're in the West. Chances are, like, actually, if you live somewhere where this is different, let me know. Let me know about this. But from my general understanding, if you're listening to this, you likely live in an area where if you as a male or if you as a female went out and had intercourse with somebody of the opposite gender that deposits or you deposit your sperm, reproductive material into their vaginal area, this is adult content here, and they happen to get impregnated or you happen to get impregnated, then you in general take possession of that material and the result of that material, the resulting fetus and everything. So it's on the female. The female can say, it is my decision whether to carry out this pregnancy or go get an abortion. There is no real expectation in any society that I think I can think of right now, if it's different where you are, for the male's permission to have to be given for the abortion to happen. Now, there might be some places. I think there might be some places in the United States of America where there might be some kind of things where you have to at least notify. You don't necessarily have to get the permission. But I know in most places in the United States of America, there's this law where you can actually, after you've had the kid, you can actually go out there and just give the child up for adoption. You don't have to actually get permission from the father. In some places, you're supposed to list a male parent, a male biological parent, but it doesn't have to be. You don't have to prove that it's the actual male parent. You don't have to get in contact with them. But then you can just give up the child. So in that sense, they've taken over it. And then the third part of this is in many places that person can have your genetic material. The female can have the male's genetic material, have a child from it, and that male is still held responsible for paying for this child and child support and other sorts of legal ways. There's places where I've seen some woman has gone and taken the sperm from a condom and things like that and inserted it in, and that's been not a thing where it's illegal. It's not considered stealing somebody else's genetic material. It's just the way that it is. Because there is something where it says once it's out, the person doesn't have control of it, but then somehow for this 9 months that it is within the female, or whatever time it gestates, it's her property, and then the male's responsibility ownership of that property all of a sudden comes back after the birth. So there's kind of an interesting thing that goes on there. And when it goes further to the sperm banks, as I mentioned before, there is normally legal things you read and you say this is being given out. Once it's given out, then I have my things listed. Females in general, normally, at least from what I know about it, they go to sperm banks and they pick through and say, oh, this man is this, oh, he's this tall, oh, he's done this is the job, this is this and the other. I'm going to get this person's sperm rather than this person's sperm. So they have the choice in that sense. But should there be a situation where a man says, I don't want any black women who are, if you're black and you're under 5'5" and you weigh over 200 pounds, I don't want you using my sperm. If someone else comes in and says like, I don't really like tall women, so I don't want to have any tall kids with my genes out there. So if a woman is, and I think blonde women are also they have white privilege. I don't want this to happen. I want my kid to be a certain way. So if a woman is over 6 foot tall and she's blonde and blue eyes and she comes from this neighborhood and she doesn't have any black friends and she votes Republican, I don't want this person getting my sperm. Would that be a thing? I mean, I can see this happening. I can see this eventually happening where that's a thing that's actually added. But what is your take on that? What do you think is the thing that weighs and makes a difference of your genetic material going out, creating something else, and then from there? What do you think the things are behind doing this? If you found a place like that, what do you think the social acceptance of that kind of arrangement would be? Would it be considered negative? Would it be considered positive? Is that sexist if you're deciding to do it? And then on the inverse, if you consider that sexist, is it kind of sexist or racist or selectionist when a female goes in there and then she decides, I want this sort of sperm from this kind of male? And there is some importance to this. There is some news story I saw where some guy in New York had, I guess, desirable sperm, and he ended up actually getting in contact with at least 20 females that have had became impregnated and gave birth due to his sperm. And in some cases, some of these females actually sued for child support, and they were actually granted child support in some of these cases. So it's a topic worth discussing. It may sound kind of ridiculous, but I think it's a topic worth discussing. Let me know what you think about it as part of my shorty series, where I expand on short thoughts and hopefully engage you in them in these videos and wherever I post them. And I appreciate you taking your time to come listen. Should be links below to a merchandise store. You can also like if you liked it, dislike if you disliked it, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and share. I'm really interested in this one because I think in the future these are things that are going to come. The way we've had relationships is going to change. We're living in a very unique time in history, I think. A lot of things changing, the way we do things. I think a lot of the things we were doing was a hangover from the world wars in the early 1900s. Is it 1900s? Or in the 1940s? It was like the mid, yeah, 1945. Things, you don't get over those things that fast. That was a major thing in human society that I think has made us reset a lot of things. And the information age came in, and now an age of understanding. Then you have this pandemic that has made people pause and reset a lot of things, rethink the way things are doing. Things are advancing. We're going off into space. There's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of new things happening, and I think we're going to get like artificial wombs soon. The way families and things are organized are going to be different. We're going to get more information about genetics. It's going to be like gene modifications. We're going to have more decisions on what we do with our bodies and how we reproduce, how we organize societies. And these are questions that are going to be coming up a lot faster than I think many of us may actually think they are. Goodbye.